Welcome, everybody. We are live once again for the Overwatch PIT Championships. This is North America, Group A, day number 4. I'm Jamerson, joined once again by Herix. Herix, how are you doing today?
Real good, man. Real good. Really excited for some nice games that we got going on today. Of course, this first one is the one I'm probably most excited about, most anticipated, I would say, given the performance that we've seen so far from Rise Nations throughout the course of this group stage. But obviously, we still have a lot of great games going on today. Of course, the first game that we're going to be seeing, as already mentioned, is going to be Rise Nation versus Selfless Gaming. And then moving on into that second one, which will be CLG versus Complexity. And then the final match of the day will be Gale Force Esports versus LG Evil. And if we look at the standings right now, I mean, things are already kind of opening up a little bit for this group.
Opening up, but these first two teams have already secured their spot into our quarterfinals there, as Rise Nation and Selfless both standing on a 3-0 record. They are both undefeated right now, and this is basically the match that's going to decide who's going to be walking away, essentially with the first spot position here in group number A. I mean, anything can happen tomorrow, but at this point, with the way both teams are actually competing, they look so solid. This is, a lot of people are touting as basically the finals for North America.
Yeah, and starting on this first match here, which again is going to be Rise Nation versus Selfless Gaming, we've already talked about how both of these teams are already secured with their 3-0 scores right now, that they are going to the playoffs. Both of these teams are going to be able to pull that off now, but in this game, this is basically just going to be securing who is really kind of, I guess, the best team in the group, who's going to be able to move on and secure the number 1 seed, and then be in the best spot in terms of the playoff setting moving forward. And obviously, a lot of talk has been going on about Selfless, but I think the big standout for this particular group stage, as already mentioned, is Rise Nation. I mean, looking at what they've been able to accomplish so far throughout this series has been actually nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, talk about a team that has come from basically being kind of silent a little bit. Certainly more silent than what we've seen from a lot of the other teams, especially in this group. And then really just putting on a show, really stepping up, and I think performing quite well. They look very confident in the dive meta right now. I mean, Retzi has looked like a monster so far. They've run some 2-2-2 stuff as well. Midnight occasionally flexing over to some off-tank roles, particularly like Diva. They've run some Pharmacy as well. I mean, they've been very versatile so far throughout this. And, Selfless has actually kind of switched things up a little bit themselves. I mean, they've even pulled out a 3-tank strat yesterday against CLG. I mean, we saw Sinatra flexing over to Rohog. We've seen Emong on Diva. And still, they're just basically kind of trying to enable Defran as much as possible. But, they have still kind of changed things up a little bit themselves, as opposed to what we're used to seeing with Selfless, which is the same comp every single time, no matter what. And that's more than likely going to come out here in Hollywood. But still, I mean, all chips are on the table here for both of these teams, I would say, in this series.
Yeah, and so our first map of the day, it is going to be Hollywood here, and Selfless will be starting off on the attacking side. On the defense, though, Rise Nation looking for that triple tank setup. Desro, of course, on that. Reinhardt, Spirit picking up the Roadhogs, and Midnight on the Zarya. To round out the DPS will be Retzi on the Soldier 76. We'll see if he holds on to the high ground there. If Sinatra can do anything on that Tracer, try and dislodge him there, or if he'll just be able to rain out free damage with that 76, as Sinatra immediately jumping in with that Tracer, starting to wrap around to the backhand side, going into that back alley. We'll see if he can cause enough distraction. He is going to have Emong here, looking like he's going to push up with that, try and cause them to fall back a little bit on the side of Rise Nation.
I mean, we still see Defran kind of contested up top. Spirit going to be able to find that kill, and now we're going to be seeing a little bit of a trade going on here as Emong just dropping back, trying to get away from some of this pressure coming out from Rise Nation, and it seems as though we are going to be seeing actually Dak just up top holding on, and it's still back and forth here. 40 seconds have gone by, but still no team really kind of solidifying themselves. Spirit with a nice right click there onto Emong, though.
Yeah, but Sinatra was able to land that pulse bomb onto Midnight and then clean that up. He finds a second kill, taking out Spirit, and now things are going Selfless's way, as they do have 5 members still here on the point. There's only 3 on the side of Rise Nation to try and defend right now, and Desro's getting focused down. It's going to be Michael 3D that picks up that kill, and Retzi still stuck over here in Cafe. Sinatra actually trying to camp the spawn just a little bit, making sure no one can get into Cafe, and Retzi gets hooked in. Emong will be able to finish off that kill. Looks like Selfless, with a great first push, is going to go ahead and capture point A. They're even picking up these stragglers here as they're starting to push towards that initial spawn for the defenders, and now they're just trying to regroup here. But Emong once again catches out Desro. That's a hook and a pole spawn to finish him off. Locke might be the next person to go down, but he has just gotten back to his team.
So this is just Selfless going back to their old ways. Kresnik just sitting alone on the point here while the rest of the team is just 5v6ing, or not really even 5v6ing, because basically how this works is they just take pick after pick after pick, kind of disallow the opponent to try to get a full regroup, and then they're just taking the advantage of 5v3s, 5v4s even, as often as possible. Defran going to be taken out by Retzi there, and he's actually just going to contest Sinatra a little bit. It looks like this regroup is actually working quite well for Rise Nation here, who's looking to try to battle back right now. Sinatra jumping into the back lines once again, as he always does. Tactifies are going to come out. Nanoboo's going to come out as well with Retzi.
Yeah, but it's mostly going to Kresnik's shield here, and the payload has made some good headway, but Kresnik was put to sleep there, and they're going to be able to clean that up. Retzi with that tactical visor finishes it off. Now they're going to push them back after finding 3 kills there. It all started off when I believe it was Retzi was able to land a great Helix rocket onto the brand on the high ground and just clean them up, and then from there, they try to push forward. Emong answered with his whole hog, but it only bought them just maybe 10 meters, as we do have the high ground getting taken by Selfless here, and they have so many ultimates to work with.
And we do see them getting an engagement right now as the Frand actually opened things up. 2 kills already coming out from this. Nanovisor should be able to take out Faz as well, and he goes into the backline, finds those kills. Sinatra going to help out with those, and with Emong landing that last hook there onto Midnight, they are going to secure that fight with ease with all the ultimates that they actually wound up expending. There was 4 used in that fight, if I'm not mistaken, which is certainly a lot to allocate to one fight, but nonetheless, we are going to be seeing Kresnik with that Earthshatter ready to go. It doesn't look, I'm not sure if Rise Nation, okay, they do want to contest, and they're going to come around that right side. Earthshatter is going to be ready still. Faz is going to be taken out early, though.
Oh, and we saw Spirit try to use the whole hog, but he was immediately put to sleep. We do have the Graviton Surge coming out. It only lands onto Emong and Kresnik, and there's no follow-up there. Desro is able to get a Fire Strike off onto it, but Midnight immediately falls there, and they're slowly cleaning up Rise Nation here. They're going to be able to get that checkpoint, and they're on the defense on the streets portion. It looked really bad. We saw it was Retzi and Locke actually getting caught out on the high ground, with Defran just getting an easy 2-man tactical visor onto them, cleaning them up, and now pure Selfless fashion, they're pushing up to the spawn. Emong getting that kill onto Spirit, and now this is just the whole Spirit Selfless treatment coming out as Michael 3D even finds a kill onto Desro. They've only got, I believe it's generally Kresnik that stays on the payload that entire time, just the 1-man push. We saw during the street space, payload actually made a lot of headway before Rise Nation were able to just gather their forces and go in for that defense.
Yeah, because they're taking all these picks, especially on targets like Desro, where Defran can just rip him to pieces when he goes for charges like that. And now they're going to be able to take his shield down pretty easily too. Nanovisor are going to come out, and that's going to easily eliminate Spirit. And they should be able to slide back around this backside, find those last couple of kills on these guys in the back. But Zaretzi actually going to return fire with the Nanovisor of his own there.
Yeah, the Earthshatter did come out from Kresnik, but unfortunately it was not able to connect onto Retzi there. So with that tactical visor, that's going to be Rise Nation just stabilizing their defense finally, but the payload almost made the end of the map there. Now Spirit switching off to Farah, just getting some free damage off, but he does get that kill onto Michael 3D, so it's going to stagger it just a little bit. But right now, Selfless, they have 3 minutes just to push this payload another 5 meters or so.
Now we're going to be seeing Sinatra just trying to create that space there for Defran. Defran getting kind of pinned down a little bit in the back, but there by some rockets. But nonetheless, we are going to be seeing them engage here. Very aggressive style coming out. Spirit taken down to about 50%. Going to be able to get some heals, but Sinatra, who is now contesting this Ana in the backline, should give a lot of room to work with here as the Emong already opens up with a nice kill with the Hold Hog. They have both tanks down already from Rise Nation.
Yeah, Faz is trying to keep this point alive. Nice concussive blast just to try and displace them, but at that point now it's Defran and Kresnik coming in to clean up, and with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, Selfless are going to complete out Hollywood here. It's a pretty good time for them.
Definitely a fantastic time for them to be starting things off with. I mean, 2:30 is phenomenal here to be starting out, especially against a team like Rise Nation. Obviously, a lot has been going into this matchup. I mean, certainly a lot of talk in regards to who's going to be able to come out on top of this group, with Rise Nation just performing so well in this current meta here and able to make the most out of this triple DPS styling that has kind of come out and developed so far, especially I would say in NA, but I mean, as we've seen in EU, I mean, it's definitely been going on and there as well. It just seems to really kind of work out very well. And we are going to be seeing on the attacking side here from Rise Nation, Locke actually going over to that Zenyatta. And on the defensive side, at the moment, we see Sinatra actually on the Widowmaker. But, I mean, everything other than that looks pretty standard for Selfless. So perhaps Sinatra might actually just go ahead and swap things back over to that Tracer. And they'll probably, more than likely, go to that standard composition we're used to seeing from Selfless.
I mean, Widowmaker is no stranger to this map, but Sinatra has been doing such a fantastic job already on this map with that Tracer. I don't really see why he would want to swap off, so there we go. Immediately is going to go back to that Tracer. Emong sitting on the Diva, though. Huh. All right. So, triple take setup once again coming out from coming out from Selfless, and Emong going to be on that Diva while Sinatra picks up the Roadhog. I'm a little surprised by that.
Well, this is something that they did yesterday against CLG. They use it a lot when they're expecting like a Pharah Mercy, something like that, because basically what this does is it allows Emong to continue his role of just basically kind of bodyguarding Defran, making sure that he's safe, give him the space that he needs to work with so that he can take the Pharah out, basically, and just continue that pressure that Defran is used to doing. And certainly knowing that Rise has a guy like Spirit on the roster, a pretty strong Pharah, that's definitely a smart way to approach this, so Sinatra continue his role, even though it's, you know, that Roadhog we're used to seeing coming out from Emong. Sinatra's still in that same role of just trying to take picks, trying to create space at the front line to be able to create space so that Defran can then kind of deal with everybody in the back.
Oh, Emong jumps right up on top to Gatorade there to finish off Spirit. And so, great first hold coming out from Selfless there, as we do see the triple DPS setup coming out from the side of Rise Nation. Defran does clean up that kill onto Desro, so that's going to stagger them even more. And now Selfless starting to posture for that full Selfless defense. But yeah, the triple DPS setup coming out from Rise Nation. What do you think about it?
We are going to be seeing actually Retzi in the backline just pulling them back to the point, which is going to allow the rest of his team to finally get a nice regroup here. And Retzi's still in the backline, so he should be able to try to contest Defran, but we're more than likely going to be seeing Emong just run over and just try to protect it. And look at that, he's on point with that as Defran comes out with that set of ultimate there. That's going to be the Nano Visor. And again, the space created here by Emong to allow for Defran to get away from Retzi, that Tracer threat that was trying to contest him. And then he just opened things up with that Nano Visor.
Yep, great Nano Visor coming out from Defran there. They don't have like a Reinhardt. They can only play around the Winston bubble to try and mitigate some of that damage. But yeah, great job. As we do see Desro swapping off to the Reinhardt now, just to try and deal with some of that soldier damage that is coming out. Now, Spirit has to be careful. We saw in that last engagement that he actually got hooked in by Sinatra there. He was saved by the Winston bubble, but now here we go. Spirit is getting sit on by Emong right there on top of Gatorade as the pulse bomb comes out. It's going to be Retzi that gets that kill onto Kresnik. Sound Barrier does come out on the side of Selfless, but Locke is going to go ahead and pop his Transcendence right now as 2 kills do go over in favor of Selfless. Retzi is getting the focus treatment from Emong right now as Sinatra does go ahead and pop that whole hog just to push them away. Now, they do have Zenyatta actually caught out over here, and that's going to be Emong that finishes off that kill. Locke going down, and we still have Xretzi trying to pull them apart in the back line, but as Rise Nation falls one by one, they're going to have to regroup. Sinatra finding one more kill onto Spirit. Are they going to be able to get Desro here? Now, Xretzi does trade back, taking out Sinatra with that pulse bomb, but still, there's going to be 5 members of Selfless still on the defense here, and if they're going to buy enough time for him to get back, they should be all right.
Well, Sinatra's going to switch over to that Tracer, though, because of the time that's allotted left in this match. And Defran already has that ultimate, so he knows that he doesn't need the firepower of that Roadhog there. He comes right alive there with another Nano Visor here, as these guys have been just stacking ults up like absolutely crazy so far. And now Defran, once again, with a huge stack of kills here. Only 1 minute remains here for Rise to be able to solidify this first objective, but they haven't even gotten a single tick so far here, Jamerson.
Yeah, they haven't really been able to work with their ultimates right now. We do have the self-destruct coming out on the side of Selfless. It's not going to quite connect as the sound barrier does come out for Rise Nation. Now Spirit opening it up, getting that kill onto Kresnik. Here comes the Graviton Surge. It lands onto 3. That's going to be Defran going down along with Dak. There we go. That's what Rise Nation was looking for. Just one big team fight win. And it took a little while, but after about 4 minutes, they are going to be able to secure point A.
Certainly a much better pace set at the beginning of things here by Selfless. But of course, Rise Nation can always turn this thing back around and carry this momentum going forward. But now with Spirit off of that Pharah, we do see Sinatra, as I said before, over on that Tracer. They don't have to worry as much about that. I imagine Emong might actually make a swap himself, but perhaps he might stay. But given the fact that there's no soldier to go against, he'll more than likely swap here, especially if he can get a self-destruct off after this next fight. But nonetheless, we are seeing some aggression coming out. Nano Boost actually coming out onto that Zarya there. Emong demeched by the Zarya. He's just going to go right into this tank line. He's more than likely going to be killed off, and Spirit does find that kill as Retzi just kind of sitting behind this point here, trying to stay away from the visor that came out from Defran. Defran only going to be able to find 2 kills along with Kresnik there at the front line, and this is still back and forth here as Michael 3D is going to get jumped on here by Retzi, who's trying to take these kills, but I mean, Selfless is just so good at peeling for that backline, man.
They are right now, but Michael 3D dropping down solo. He will survive for right now as Desro does get that kill onto Kresnik, and Locke will be able to secure that final kill onto Sinatra there. That's going to give Rise Nation the space to push forward this payload right now. They do have to regroup. Defran, Hook 2.0, keeping him alive. Spirit gets hooked in though, and he will get cleaned up by Emong, who has swapped off onto this Roadhog here. Now Selfless with the man advantage. They're starting to posture forward. They've got Sinatra pushing forward with that Tracer, ready to get onto the back line. Desro's attention is pulled apart right now. Midnight is trying to focus him. Here we go. Graviton Surge comes out. It lands onto Defran and to Sinatra, but he's able to get out of that. It's only going to be Defran that goes down to Sinatra. Still alive here, keeping this alive for Selfless. Finds that kill onto Midnight and now finds a second taking out Retzi. And unfortunately, even though he was landed in that Graviton Surge, they weren't able to clean up that kill, and if that might have been the difference maker.
These guys are so good at brawling. I mean, Selfless with that swap, they just know what works for them. And as I said before, Emong with that swap, again, just because of the fact that he doesn't need that diva at all anymore, gonna go over to that classic style composition that we see from Selfless, back with Sinatra on the Tracer, Emong on that Roadhog, and they're just so good with this one, especially as the fights get a little bit scrappier and everything. We saw it once things started to get all over the place. Selfless just came together like crazy. Emong just so good, so consistent with that Roadhog in that particular scenario, and he almost takes out Spirit there to start things off. He has Whole Hog at the ready, as we do see Sound Barrier coming out, and Defran actually coming live with yet another Nano Visor here, Jamerson.
There's been almost no pressure on Defran. This is, I think, his 4th tactical visor, maybe his 5th tactical visor there, but it was a little scrappy there. Ultimately, in the end, Selfless will be able to clean that up as Locke, with a nice Helix rocket from the high ground, takes out Locke there. Now, 9 seconds left on the clock. This is going to be a real race to try and get onto the payload here. 5 seconds left as we do see the Lucio making his way around. Faz is going to be able to keep this point alive right now. Spirit finding that hook, takes out Sinatra, but here's the Earth Shatterer. It only connects onto Faz. He does finally go down, and Spirit once again coming up for this team. He is purple. He's about to fall to Michael 3D. Defran finally getting cleaned up by Desro. That's the kind of pressure they needed to apply onto him in the beginning of this matchup, but there we go. They're starting to clean up. Kresnik will go down. Now they got 4 members on this payload. I wonder if Selfless is going to try and contest this.
And I mean, they definitely should try if they can, but I don't think that they're going to be able to have the front line that they want here, as Sinatra definitely wanted to get that opening kill, but not going to be able to find it. It is in overtime right now as he's trying to hold on here, and Spirit is going to find that kill on Defran with that Pharah, and it looks like Desro, who's been left kind of unchecked so far in these last 2 fights, is going to be able to support the rest of the team, create that space that he needs to be able to find, and they should be able to push this through in overtime to that last stage of the map, despite the fact that we did see some kills out going Selfless's way. Now, they are going to be having Defran come out on short spawn, but everybody else should be able to be safe in that long spawn. Defran might get taken out, but he is going to contend that and actually pull back out. Should be safe for now, at least, unless we can see Spirit getting a nice little rocket, but that's not going to be the case. Selfless now with 1 minute, just over 1 minute left in the bank to try to get a stop here to take the first map here on Hollywood.
They're coming up to another tactical visor for Defran, though, and this might just be the difference maker. But on the side of Rise Nation, they've got that Graviton Surge along with the Nano Visor ready to work with, as in the high ground, Spirit just getting focused down by Emong and Defran. And there we go, tactical visor coming out from Defran as Desro did pop that Primal Rage. Now he's trying to stay on top of him and make sure Defran can't get these kills, but he's already picked up the kill onto Faz. Now it is going to be a 3-for-2 trade, make that a 4-for-2 trade in favor of Rise Nation, as that pulse bomb didn't quite connect for Sinatra. It's just going to go ahead and pepper them just a little bit, but he does get cleaned up by Spirit there. Now with 30 seconds, this is going to be the final push possibly coming out from Rise Nation. They still have that tactical visor to work with, and Spirit's Barrage is actually coming up.
All Selfless really wants to do right here, I mean, if they can get the stop, obviously that's the play, but if they don't get the stop, it's not that big of a deal. They're going to have that extra time to try to close this out in overtime, so I think they're feeling pretty confident, especially given that first fight that we saw here on this map on their attacking side. Emong not going to be able to get in place in time to be able to deal with that barrage that came out with there with Spirit. He's able to find one kill and actually demech Emong as well. It looks as though we're going to be seeing Rise Nation actually pushing this one through. They just have to get this last Winston here, and that's actually Defran on that. Sinatra still holding on to this point. They have already ticked it into overtime, so certainly, I mean, Selfless looking very good at the moment, but if they can actually close this one out, I mean, obviously that would be even better for them. I just don't think that they're going to be able to get everybody on the point and secure this one. I think that we are going to be seeing Rise Nation able to take this one.
Yeah, unfortunately for Rise Nation there, though, Selfless just had a great first time. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in their time bank means that Rise will not have an opportunity to attack at point A. So now Selfless, we saw on their first attack, it only took them about a minute to actually cap that first point. So Rise Nation, they need to do something differently here on their point A defense to try and tie up this map against them.
I mean, that first attack, though, wasn't... I mean, it was pretty quick, but it was kind of back and forth. I mean, we didn't see Selfless really just, like, diving in and just eliminating them instantaneously. They had to kind of stagger in a little bit, take some picks, and they just happened to kind of win a 3v3 at the very end. So, I mean, still, things could still go the way of Rise Nation, and perhaps going into a little bit of a tiebreaker here, which would be on Oasis for this map. But nonetheless, we are going to be seeing Spirit actually over here on the Pharah. And we saw actually with Spirit making that swap, there was an inability for Selfless to react, I think, in time, with Sinatra unable to go over to the composition that they usually go to try to deal with Pharahs, which certainly worked very well for them on that first point. Which was with Emong on the D.Va, who we did swap to, but Sinatra kind of unable to make the play or make the swap over to that Roadhog, which typically they would have wanted to give, their tank, Kresnik, a little bit more room to work with and create a little bit more threat at the front line for Defran to have a little bit more room to work with in the back. But, now he is going to be on that Pharah once again here, Spirit, and looks like we're going to be seeing the kind of standard Selfless composition coming out at least first here, with Defran actually getting taken down pretty low to start things off.
Yeah, he is going to get immediately healed up, though, and we had the Roadhog pushing him from security. Did get the hook onto Midnight, but he's going to be able to stay safe there. He had that projected barrier. Now, Kresnik's shield dropping really low here. He is going to have to back off and try and recharge that right now. 2 minutes left on the clock for Selfless as Defran has pushed up onto Gatorade. Spirit gets hooked in. He will survive thanks to the barrier, but not for long as Defran will clean him up. Kresnik charges on in, isn't able to get a pin quite yet, but Desro is caught out in the middle of the entirety of Selfless. Emong is the one that's going to finish that off. Finds a second hook, takes out Faz now, and it looks like Selfless in a great position to cap this point and finish off this map. Pulse Bomb did come out, and it's going to be Sinatra finishing off that kill onto Lock, and there we go. Selfless might have just done it. 2 ticks already on the clock. And there's no one here to contest. They're going to be able to take point A, and that's going to be Hollywood going the way of Selfless in this first match of the day.
I would actually say pretty convincing fashion, too. I mean, if it had not been for that swap from Spirit, actually, towards the end where he went over to that Pharah, and not only that, but Desro actually making a phenomenal play going over to the Winston, dealing with the Defran up top, I believe on Bank or Saloon. I don't remember which one it was exactly, but being able to deal with Defran and then come down and win the fight, because, I mean, Defran, if he had that high ground there, he certainly would have been in a great position to try to close that fight out, and that could have ended things right there, and Selfless might have been able to take that actually 3-1 with Rise actually falling out short a little bit, because they did take that second point in overtime. But nonetheless, we're going to be going into a second map here between Selfless and Rise Nation. Obviously, Selfless up 1-0 at the moment, and certainly Selfless looking pretty strong, I would say, certainly on Hollywood, but obviously Hollywood, one of their better maps. Now moving into this second map, the question is where is Rise Nation going to want to take this? The only time that we've seen them lose a map was after that draw on Hanamura versus LG Evil, and they wound up going over to Nepal. However, they have been known to be very strong on Hanamura themselves. Maybe they want to pull that out once again, but that is actually going to be Nepal that we wind up seeing. So now 2 times in a row that Rise Nation has fallen short on a particular map. They pull out Nepal as their map of choice. But we have to remember, Selfless Gaming right now is sitting very comfortably at 3-0 on this particular map. So I don't know exactly how this is going to go, but I mean, Selfless certainly looking very strong at the moment, in my opinion, to be able to actually kind of do quite well against Rise Nation, who I would imagine have a little bit of favor going into Nepal, but I don't know. Selfless is still looking strong, so this could be anyone's map here.
Yeah, Selfless is just one map away from walking away as the undefeated team in Group A here for North America. But still, Rise Nation, they feel like they have a strong Nepal themselves, so I'm really excited to see this match. It is best of 5. We only do the best of 3s when we have the tiebreakers, so sorry for that confusion last week. But yeah, we do have, it looks like someone taking a quick bio break. So just give us a few more moments and we will get this match underway. But man, Selfless looked fantastic there. I mean, we did see, like you had mentioned, Desro switching off to the Winston to try and deal with him. But largely before that, he went uncontested, continually had the high ground. Every time he had the nano visor, he cleaned up 3-4 members. Do you think that Rise need to put more pressure onto Fran or Sinatra or Emong? Who do you try to focus down initially in these team fights?
Well, the problem is that no matter where you go, Selfless always has an answer. And that's the big thing with their composition that I don't think a lot of people are really kind of talking about as much, is that it's not necessarily all about Defran being on Soldier and Sinatra being on this character and Emong being on this character. It's more about how the different players kind of interact with one another that I think is actually quite a bit more important, I would say. And, you know, looking at how things have operated, we can see how it actually changes when they actually switch comps a little bit around. And particularly when Emong swaps off of his, what I would say, main character in terms of the composition that we're used to seeing. When he goes over to a diva, he's still playing that same role that we're used to him seeing, or used to seeing him in, which is basically just, again, being kind of like a bodyguard for Defran, making sure that Defran is safe, and then Sinatra is kind of up front dealing with everybody at the front to make sure that Kresnik is safe, to make sure that, you know, if he can get picks, he can find them. That occurs both on Roadhog and Tracer. It doesn't change at all. I mean, the roles are the same, and that's the big thing with Selfless, is that, you know, you can't really just target one thing in particular as a pinpoint for you to start getting the ball rolling. I think if there was a way to easily eliminate Defran from the equation, then yes, certainly I think that would probably be the best way. But even if you could, Emong, I mean, is built into this composition to ensure that that doesn't happen. I mean, look at this. He's even going over to the diva right now to, again, try to ensure that. Again, this is still kind of like a triple tank sort of map, so this is expected out of them. But still, I mean, this is how they work, this is how they operate, and it's basically just built for making sure that the Soldier 76 has a lot of room to work with and is as safe as possible, especially going up against any type of fair play as well.
Desro jumps in first, and Spirit is getting some free shots off on that rocket, but Emong is there with that defense matrix to eat up a lot of them. Right now, they are on the point. Retzi gets hooked in, Sinatra will clean that up, and Spirit goes on down. So now it's a 6v4 in favor of Selfless. Selfless just not letting go of this gas. They're going to be able to clean up that kill onto Faz. That was Kresnik just hammering him into the corner there. So point A going to go on over to Selfless. Real easy team fight for them there.
And we're going to be seeing them jumping forward and contesting this up front, and Destro actually going to be falling there, so they're going to have to wait on that respawn. So really, we're not going to see any sort of flipping happening at the very earliest, probably around 25% here, and that's only if we do see Rise Nation coming back with a huge sense of urgency and just flipping this quickly, but they don't obviously have the opportunity to do that quite yet, so it's going to take a lot longer. Here's Retzi already kind of establishing himself on the point. They're going to back Selfless all the way up, though, and Destro getting dangerously low is going to be eliminated here. We do see somehow Dak jumping onto the point before that actually does get flipped.
Yeah, the Transcendence coming out, and we've got the Tactical Visor on the side of Selfless, but before that, Kresnik did immediately go down. Retzi will be able to get the D-Mech onto Emong, but Defran finally finds a kill, finds a second one onto Spirit, now evening it up so far, but the Tactical Visor now coming out for Midnight there. It's going to be Faz that cleans up the kill onto Emong, who was D-Mech'd earlier on in that fight, and so finally, after about 47%, Rise Nation will flip this on back, but they got to be careful. Desro jumps in and gets hooked and even pole spun, and he goes down immediately. But we still have Selfless still regrouping here, and now they're pushing on to the point.
And now the question is, can Selfless flip this very easily here? And Spirit being taken out is certainly the step in the right direction for these guys. And I mean, still, Defran very, very safe in this backline at the moment, just dishing out the damage. And with Destro taken out earlier here, I mean, certainly Selfless was already at a distinct advantage going into this. Destro going to be more than likely eliminated here. Self-destruct going to come out. Not going to find any kills, but certainly going to give them the space that they're looking for to be able to take this point, flip it back in their favor. 32% now for Rise Nation here, who were able to hold on to that for quite a while, I would say. But now Selfless with the control here. Defran getting pretty close to getting his visor up. Michael 3D already with the nano boost, and Sinatra, I mean, certainly ready to use that whole hog as well. So a lot of control coming for the side of Selfless Gaming here.
Defran, like you said, is going to have another tactical visor, and we've seen every single time that he's gotten, he's been highly impactful for it, maybe except for like once, but right now we do have Rise Nation jumping onto the point. It is 77% in favor, but as the tactical visor does come out, Defran is going to get pulse bombed. Actually, X-Resi shutting that down, but during that whole time, Emong finds a kill onto Desro. Now, tactical visor is popped by Midnight, but Emong is just sitting right on top of him with that defense matrix, shuts that down. 90% on the board, and now Selfless just pushing forward. They don't want to give them any opportunity to try and get back onto the point.
And we do see a Sound Barrier coming out. Whole Hog gonna be coming out as well. And Sinatra gonna be just dropping that into the floor just to make sure that he gets away from that deflect coming out from the Genji. Should be able to back these guys up. 3 kills already on the side of Selfless. And it does seem as though we're gonna be seeing Locke trying to jump in and contest, but he's gonna get charged right off the point before he's even able to get on there to contest it. And that's gonna be 1-0 now in favor of Selfless. And I would say, again, kind of convincing fashion. It seems like Selfless definitely have the better of Rise Nation so far in this series.
Yeah, they try to start off with that triple DPS composition, but the side of Selfless, they were just way too meaty there, and so they were able to stay alive. And now we are moving on to the Shrine here for our second point, second going the way of Selfless, and we're just gonna see if they make any swap-offs for their lineup. It doesn't look like it. They're still hovering on that triple DPS composition, which kind of worked out, but for the most part, Selfless were able to shut it down.
Now moving on to Shrine here, we do see Emong back on the Diva, but with Sinatra actually on that Tracer. And we do see Spirit going back over to the Pharah here, so, I mean, Defran's going to have to try to deal with that. Sinatra more than likely to help out if he can get over to that side, but I think he's going to try to contest just on the point as much as he possibly can, trying to take out Desro. Retzi actually going to be able to find that kill off on him, and they're going to de-mech Emong too, so this is a lot of good things here for Rise Nation if they can continue this pressure, especially with Locke actually dishing out these discords as well. They might be able to kill off Kresnik, but Michael 3D going to be able to get that healing off, and Selfless just literally a millisecond away from being able to capture this point as Dak actually is backed off here.
Yeah, he gets topped off though by Michael 3D. That's the power of Anno. Immediately you're right back in the fight. But we did have Emong actually get the kill onto Spirit before he trades away. That's 1-for-1, taking out Defran. But still, there's a lot of firepower behind Selfless here as they push forward. Sinatra getting the kill onto Retzi. He's going to be able to stick onto Midnight there, taking him out. And now Selfless swapping on it all over. They're going to be able to cap that point as Desro was just caught out in the back line here. Gets cleaned up by Emong. And so, once again, it is going to be Selfless capping the point first.
And Sinatra, I mean, so consistent with those sticks too. I mean, in terms of NA tracers, he's definitely up there in terms of his accuracy with just landing those sticks and finding impact with the pulse bomb. But on top of that, just his ability to know the spacing with the blinks. And nice kill there onto Desro. Again, these picks onto Desro are pivotal here for Selfless Gaming because it basically just eliminates a fight that would have otherwise occurred here. Desro going to be coming off of that respawn, and they literally have to wait for him as he's the only tank here for these guys. I mean, literally the pillar tank. And now we are going to be seeing Sinatra once again just laying into Spirit. But Spirit going to be able to find that kill in the hallway. And now they're going to be engaged with a 6v5 and a lot of ults to work with as well.
But Sound Barrier comes out along with that Nano Visor for Defran. Defran already found the kill onto Faz. There we go. That's the second, taking out Spirit. Midnight finally does trade on back. They've got the Transcendence to push with, but that's going to be the side of Rise Nation. They are starting to push Selfless back just a little bit. They're regrouping. Tactical Visor does come out from Midnight. Nice Earth Shatter coming out from Kresnik. That's going to land onto Midnight, taking him out. That's going to be Emon. GG Stick does come out. X-Resi finds that kill onto Kresnik, and now they're trying to fight back. Is the side of Rise Nation. Now Defran, though, gets that kill onto Retzi, and now they're starting to push them back once again. Real back and forth battle between these two teams, but with Sinatra getting that kill onto Faz, it's going to swing the favor hugely in favor of Selfless. And now we've even got Sinatra trying to hunt down Desro. That he's going to be forced to actually pop his Primal Rage here, and now 82% on the board, and no one's even near the point as they're just having to deal with Sinatra.
And Sinatra actually quickly has become the problem here that's come out from Selfless Gaming, as Defran has been otherwise kind of dealt with at the moment. But nonetheless, we are going to be seeing the re-engage happening, and Selfless still taking those kills, taking the trade. Self-destruct to come out there as Emong opens that one up and almost takes out Spirit, backs him up a little bit. But we do see 99% now for Selfless Gaming as they're looking to close this out. They're falling short on the point, and we do see Midnight coming alive with the tactical visor, looking to clean it up. Already has 2 frags here as he's looking to push these guys back, and the flip might come out, but Sinatra gonna be able to get that recall, and the rest of Selfless Gaming actually pulling away here as Sinatra dies off, and they finally get the flip at 99% for Selfless now, and Rise Nation trying to battle back.
Yeah, for Selfless's next push, though, they're going to have that tactical visor, the nano visor, along with the sound barrier. This is going to be a really nice, strong retake coming out from them. So right now, Rise Nation are going to have to be very careful as Defran is starting to push up very aggressively on the left-hand side. Immediately, Locke is going to go ahead and pop that Transcendence here. We do see the charge coming out. Desor taking way out of commission there. Defran finding up 2 kills. That Spirit and Faz going on down. And Sinatra cleaning up the rest of Rise Nation. That's a triple kill for him. They're going to flip the point, and that's point number 2, going the way of Selfless.
That play was all about Michael 3D landing that biotic grenade. That was literally everything to be able to still find those 2 kills inside of Locke's Transcendence there. Stellar play coming out from Michael. And now this is, I mean, this is map point. This is series point here for Selfless Gaming, who have basically made Rise Nation, who have stepped their game up, I would say, for this group stage. And turned Rise Nation into a team that doesn't seem as strong as what we've seen so far, at least going against teams like LG Evil, you know, in the past, where, I mean, they did beat LG Evil already in this group stage, but man, Selfless just in a league of their own, it seems, at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, especially after that performance also on Hollywood, but right now, this is possibly the final opportunity for Rise Nation to try and claw on back. They're not going for that triple DPS composition anymore. They're going for a tankier triple tank. They're going to go ahead and push that high ground as Selfless actually opts to go for that main push. Now in the backline is going to be Defran actually on the high ground. Spirit getting the first hook onto Sinatra though makes it look real good as Rise Nation are now onto the point, starting to close in on the Selfless squad here.
And actually, with Defran in pretty good positioning here, they might be able to do something with this, but obviously they already lost someone early on, with Spirit finding a nice hook to open things up, and I'm not sure that they're going to be able to battle back now. We already see Rise Nation with control, but Defran's still kind of up here unchecked right now, and they're basically just trying to use LOS to try to deal with Defran so that he can't actually do much, and he's forced to fall back now. We do see the tanks getting kind of low. Defran actually almost being taken out, but he does demech Midnight with Dax's help there, and they're going to be re-engaging again. Rise Nation with the control here, so even if they lose this one, oh man, Defran already pulling out the tac visor, and we do see the whole hog coming out as well. That's going to cancel that out a little bit with the nano boost coming out onto Spirit, and Defran now at 13 HP, looking to re-engage right behind Kresnik here. I'm interested to know why they're going to re-engage this so aggressively, given the fact that Defran isn't really healthy at the moment. He is going to be eliminated there by Desro, who came in with that Earth Shatter.
Yeah, Earth Shatter landed onto Michael along with along with Defran, but unfortunately he was only able to get that 1 kill, and now Earth Shatter on the side of Selfless. Kresnik landed onto Faz, but he's not going to follow up with that kill. Spirit does go down, and now that nano visor was committed onto him also. They haven't found the most value off of it yet, but there we go. Kresnik finally getting that kill onto Faz. Now Sinatra pushing forward along with Defran, starting to clean up Rise Nation. 63% on the board. Finally, the team fight's over, and they will get control of that point.
And with that triple tank composition here, they're certainly trying to do the most that they possibly can to try to deal with the front line here. Of course, Emong with self-destruct ready to go, same with Midnight, but I think the more important fact of the matter that is if they give up high ground here, which certainly Selfless does not want to do, especially with Defran, knowing how he operates, then Retzi can definitely come alive with attack visor of his own and flip this one back. But Emong's certainly going to be trying to contest him on that one sound barrier to come out from both teams here as we start this fight up.
Here comes the self-destruct, but it's not an optimal position. Retzi with that tactical visor will find the kill onto Deck, and it's going to be Emong that finds one with his self-destruct, taking out Spirit. Now Selfless just winning another team fight in great fashion here. They're going to go ahead and rotate on over to the high ground here for the next hold. They've got the nano visor coming on the ready, so Nasher, of course, always has that pulse bomb. On the side of Rise Nation, though, they've only got an Earth Shatter and possibly a whole hog for this next push.
Yeah, that's not a combination you see so often with Kresnik and Emon coming together, at least not in NA, as we don't typically see a lot of divas, but nonetheless, the Nano Visor more than likely to come out from Defran here, as he's already just going to be able to take it on Zaretzi, and now Destro actually under fire as well. It looks like this is going to be easy elims here for Selfless, as they're just going to take Faz out before he jumps off. They find that kill, and now with Selfless in the lead, they don't have too many options to hold on to this point, whereas we see actually Rise Nation with several. We will in fact see Defran getting back up on the high ground. They're just going to try to play this as slow as possible, more than likely play the retreat game. As we know, with the ult advantage, Rise Nation is certainly going to want to get aggressive off of this next one.
All right, 90% on the board. This is possibly the last team fight in this best of 3 series. Emon getting that kill onto Locke. He just shifts right on in. Spirit is going to use his whole hog, but it gets largely eaten up by Kresnik. But the Earth Shatter coming out from Desro. There we go. That's a triple kill for him. And this was the fight that Rise Nation were looking for.
And now again, I mean, the big thing that they were looking for here for Selfless's side is trying to get as much ult as they could probably accumulate. And certainly, I mean, they didn't accumulate anything, and this is really gonna be kind of the last fight here. But with Midnight not in mech, if they can take him out quickly with a quick pick and eliminate that diva from the equation, that's gonna be huge for Sinatra and Defran to be able to get in there and really kind of dish out some damage. Destro getting taken out early by Sinatra though, and Selfless looking to take this one.
Oh no, and that Nano Visor going largely unsuccessful on the side of Rise Nation, and it's going to be Defran pushing forward with his own tack. He doesn't have the Nano quite yet, but there we go. It's coming out as Emon finds the kill onto Retzi. Now they're onto the point, cleaning up Faz, and there's no one there to contest it quite yet. If Midnight wants to jump on, he's going to keep it alive for now, but he immediately gets demeched. Desro is there to try and help him out, but he's immediately purple, doesn't have any kind of healers there, and it looks like Selfless have just done it by way of cleaning up Spirit there at the end. That's going to be Selfless taking a 2-0 in a commanding fashion against Rise Nation, and they're going to be the only undefeated team so far here in Group A.
And this is really, I mean, Selfless's biggest test so far in the group stage. I mean, their last 2 games are going to be this game, obviously, that they just won 2-0. Again, very convincing here. And then the last game is going to be a little bit of a rematch against LG Evil we've seen a couple weeks ago. Now, of course, I mean, I think Rise Nation is probably the second strongest team that we've seen so far in this group stage. So this does mean a lot, I think, in terms of Selfless's placing in the groupings. I mean, they have essentially secured first seed here with this particular matchup, and now they're definitely looking good going into the playoff series, where really I think their biggest opposition is going to be in the form of Rogue, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, definitely looking good. That's going to be a tough matchup for sure, but that's going to be a replay of a series that happened a couple weeks ago as well. So definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to come of these 2 teams that we just saw. Obviously, Selfless coming out 2-0 on top. We have a lot of great matches still coming your way, guys. CLG and Complexity is going to be up next. Don't go anywhere. We have a lot of action coming your way.